Well, good morning, everyone. Thomas Montgomery here. It's a beautiful Monday morning. Today is September 18th, 2023, and we get together with our distribution partners and now our clients most weekday mornings at this time, 8 o'clock Central, to talk about strategies, tips, techniques, share success stories, and support each of you. Today, we're going to talk a bit about the new revised funding program resource comparison sheet. So you should see this on your screen. I think many of you will find this not only a helpful resource for yourself to better understand the difference between the credit and funding program and the business startup program, but also I think many of you will find this as a useful tool when you're visiting with prospects, both to describe to them what is included in each of these resources, but to also identify what alternatives, what options they have. Because I think what you'll find is as we help clients understand, or prospective clients understand all that we're doing for them, I don't think that there are other options that are really comparable. I don't think we have direct competitors to what we do. So the purpose today is to walk you through this, and then we'll open it up for Q&A. So just shrink this down for a bit so we see the full page. So it's designed to be one page. Obviously, you're going to change the call to action at the bottom. This is going to have your information on it, not ours. This was developed in Microsoft Word, so you can just email us a request, and as long as your branch is in good standing, then we can provide you this resource. You'll simply change the call to action to call you, to email you, to text you, to go to your resource page, whatever it is that you want them to do. Beyond that, let's talk about the narrative on the left, and then we'll get into the meat of the matter here. So we start by asking the question, do you need capital to start or grow a small business? What a great door opener, right? Well, the key to getting capital is to be qualified. And you and I have talked about this so many times. So often clients are thinking about, I need funding, I want funding. Well, that may be the case, but we first need to be qualified for that funding. You can't just want money so badly, or even need money so badly that it's going to self-realize. It's not magic, right? We have to qualify for the funding. So what you and I do through the branch model is we offer 2 grant-subsidized programs to help early stage and pre-formation businesses access a minimum of $100,000 to start or grow. And of course, this comparison document highlights the difference between the two, and we'll go through the comparison in just a moment. But we do provide just a real quick explanation, and this may be helpful for each of you as well. What's the primary difference between credit and funding and the startup program? If you were to just drill it down to one sentence, what's the difference? Well, credit and funding is to improve the credibility of the business owner. The business startup program is to create a credible business. So business owner, business, business owner, business. Now we describe it a little bit more fluently here. It says the credit and funding program is designed to assist in improving the credibility of the business owner, the person, through their 3 C's: credit, collateral, and capacity. Business owner is credit and funding. The business startup program is designed to assist in improving the credibility of the business itself, again, addressing the 3 C's: credit, collateral, capacity, but of the business. And then with your editable version, you could always change this. Some of you are using this as a resource to draw people into webinars, whether you're doing a live or on demand. Some of you are out teaching live courses in the community. That's up to you. So let's go ahead and get into the comparison sheet itself. And anytime you have any questions, comments, or concerns, just type it into the Q&A box. It's like a chat box of Zoom, and we'll field that as we go along, okay? So credit and funding versus business startup versus what other options are they looking at? And I think if they are looking at other options, let's put it on there. Let's interface with the client. Let's interact with the client and help them have an apples to apples comparison, because we've broken down the key elements of our value proposition. Let's see what else they're considering to be able to resolve their problem, which is what? Getting capital to start or grow a business. So first off, we have the guaranteed 100,000. No risk to the client. They have to participate, of course, we know that. But with participation, we guarantee a minimum of 100,000. No, it's not too good to be true. No, it's not a scam. No, it's not a Ponzi scheme. It's helping people become qualified for funding, right? That's the bottom line of what you and I do. And we've talked about that over here in the intro. We're re-emphasizing it here. And then we even describe what it is, the 3 C's that we're doing. So we have a consistent message. It's just the typical client's not sitting around saying, oh, I wish someone could help me get qualified for funding. That's not the typical mindset. The typical mindset is, I want funding. I need funding. Well, we're going to have to do a little bit of financial literacy here and help them understand you can't just want or need funding. We need to qualify for it. So, but the guarantee is there, so there's no risk to the client. Now, here on these 2 blocks, you'll see that there's a difference, isn't there? Are we helping with personal credit improvement, one of the 3 C's? Yes, for credit and funding. No, for business startup. Or from the business side, are we helping build business credit with credit and funding? No. Are we helping build business credit with the startup? Yes. So it makes sense. It's like 2 sides of the coin. One side of the coin is the business owner. The other side of the coin is the business itself. All right, Khalif is asking, is there an editable agreement for the business startup program? In fact, we don't really need an agreement for the business startup program. It is so simple and so straightforward. We have a new flyer, and we just went through, I just sent that flyer out to everyone yesterday. We'll actually be talking about it on tomorrow's call, on tomorrow's Zoom. But we actually don't even need an agreement for the startup program because it's so straightforward. It's a bulleted list, which is something we covered last week, and it's on the flyer, and we'll be covering that tomorrow. Thank you, Khalif, for your question. Okay, so we see that this is the same for both programs, and then if they're looking at other options, they need to identify, are these other options offering them a guaranteed 100,000, yes or no? And then we see that a key difference is personal versus business credit focus, which makes sense. Now we get down to this very important element, and I'm commonly running into, I don't want to say issues, but conversations with many of you, and it's obviously my fault, not yours. Yes, it matters the type of commercial address that a client has. We've covered it before, and it hasn't changed, and it continues to be true. So as is described here, having a true, unique commercial address is crucial for qualifying for most types of business funding. And that unique address is provided checkmark in the business startup package. Also, we will pay for the formation of the business with the Secretary of State. So we pay that filing fee that's included in the business startup. It also includes access to the geographic access to the Chapman Fund. The Chapman Fund, as most of you know, is through a taxing authority. It's not through a bank, not through a credit union. You don't have to go through those traditional barriers. The problem with the Chapman Fund, and this gets a lot of people very frustrated, is that it's a max of $250,000. So we could use that as the first tranche, but Chapman Fund will not give out more than $250,000 per business. But regardless, this is part of the value proposition of the startup program. Free collateral. Now, this is the same. Notice the check marks are here. We're in both cases with the credit and funding and or the business startup program, we're literally, really providing $10,000 to each participant right after they enroll. And so those assets in the form of accounts receivables are posted on their financials. So now they have collateral and they have liquidity, and that's free, right? Notice how many frees there are: free, 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 free. All right, and then we have access to the opportunity fund. So let's step back. So we've got the 3 C's, right? We've covered that: credit, collateral, capacity. We said that over here. To no surprise, what do you and I do with these programs? We help people with their 3 C's, right? If that's what it takes and we're guaranteeing them funding, then we better resolve the issues with their 3 C's. So we've talked about credit, personal, and business. This is more of a structural issue. We've talked about collateral, the 2nd C. So what do we have left? What's the 3rd C? The 3rd C is capacity. And that's where we address it with the opportunity fund. The opportunity fund is available to participants both in credit and funding and business startups. So we have 2 check marks. So this is a nice way to get daily deposits into the business bank account. And why would you want, why would a client, why would a business want to have good daily bank deposits? Well, it obviously improves their bank rating. It improves their financials. And of course, then they have access to that working capital. So that is included in both. And then ultimately, there's just no risk. Now, you may want to change this bottom. And so I've seen some of you do this where you're adding your own descriptor if you want to add another characteristic, if you care to. That's up to you. But our model is we don't ask clients to pay for promises. Instead, they pay us, pay you, the branch, based upon results. That's what clients really like. They want to pay on results. They're paying a performance fee after their capital raise. So with that being said, we can shrink this down and we can open it up for any questions. But I do encourage you to consider using this as part of your outreach efforts. I think whether you're talking to groups or individuals, this can help people better understand the value proposition that your branch offers and the difference between the 2. People could enroll in one of the programs, or they could enroll in both of the programs. Of course, they could enroll in neither of them, but that's not the point. But certainly, credit and funding, helping build the credibility of the business owner. The business startup program, helping build the credibility of the business. So who has questions, comments, concerns on the funding program resource comparison sheet? Timothy, as usual, has the first question. I guess actually it's the second question. We had one earlier, but yeah, so if you want a copy of this, just email us at support@guaranteedfunding.org. And as long as your branch is in good standing, then we can support you and assist you. Well, what does that mean, good standing? Well, when each of you enrolled as a branch office, you made specific promises and commitments to us, and we made promises and commitments to you. So if you're in good standing, then we can assist you, and we can assist you and your clients. If you're not in good standing, then we need to resolve it because you're no longer going to be supported. But we don't want that. So does anyone have questions, comments? Do you like this? So let me go down the list. We've got 321 of you on. I'll just pick a few. Adam McFarland, what do you think of this comparison sheet? Do you think it's helpful? Andrew, what do you think? Is this something that you think that would be useful for you? Audria, you've been on fire this month. What do you think? Think this would be helpful? Andrea, Bernard, Brenda, Charles, Jeanette, Ken, Khalif, Kim, Juan, Pauline, Peter, Sonia, Rudin, Sylvia, Terrence, Trevor, too many names, but I'm just looking for feedback. Now, again, we'll provide it to you in editable Word format, so you can frankly make whatever changes it is that you want to make. But in general, you would obviously change the contact information here, the call to action. So that's important. You may want to edit this if you want to change a little bit of your pitch. And then some of you, I believe, are going to be changing this bottom if you wanted to have something else. I'd recommend finishing strong, something with 2 check marks for both, personalized assistance or whatever you want to put in there. But this will be an editable Word document. Now, you normally wouldn't fill in these. This is meant to be kind of an open slot. So when you're talking to the client, it helps them come to realization, well, what's their plan B? Well, what's their alternative? If they don't have a credible business, for example, then what else are they considering to do that? Now, always keep in mind, you don't have to have a credible business to get funding. You don't, right? You could get consumer or personal loans and funding just by individually being credible. But if you want business funding, then the business needs to be credible also. Hopefully that makes sense. Seth Ruden's asking a bit about being in good standing. So each of you who are a branch office, you obviously want to be familiar with the branch license agreement that you signed, and that outlines the promises that we made to you and the promises that you made. So you want to be familiar with it. Adam, thank you, Seth Ruden. Adam says adding the 100,000 line of credit. Yeah, you could. Adam, are you thinking about adding it here? Or because we make reference that while we're providing 10,000 of free collateral, which is a true statement, in addition to that, we clarify, hey, if you need more collateral, we can do a lot more. We can load you up on millions of dollars of collateral if that's needed. Adam's point is changing this and putting the $100,000 trade line here. Yeah, you could do that. I wouldn't necessarily do that because I would be looking to bring a client in. Frankly, my approach is I would start with the credit and funding program. I would get clients in the credit and funding program first. And then it's very easy for us, you and us, to recognize, do they have a credible business? And I just tried to call Veronica this morning. Her and Eric are on the training, but I didn't reach Veronica. Veronica submitted a client, and the client didn't have a credible business. And so from that first tranche of financing, the offer wasn't what we hoped for, because here we are trying to get business funding, and the client doesn't have a credible business. What does credible business mean? Well, we've had separate training. Remember that 10 mistake training that we had last week? But one element is, does the client have a true, unique commercial address? Is the client able to produce business financials? Does the business have good business credit? Their Experian IntelliScore and or their Dun & Bradstreet Paydex score. So go back and you can look at the 10 mistake training that we did last week if you want more depth on it. But if we want business funding, then the credibility of the business matters. If we're just wanting personal loans, then frankly, the business isn't relevant. It isn't an obstacle. Ken is asking for the business startup program about the type of corporate form, and we'll work with the client and take care of that. But he's right. Let me make this larger. As you can see, the check mark here, we take care of providing the unique commercial address, and then we also take care of the filing fees and the filing with the Secretary of the State. But we'll work with the client on that. So worry not. Trevor asked, will someone who has the credit and funding program only work on the personal side? No. And I can see why Trevor would ask that question based on my comments. It's just, if someone's in credit and funding, we're taking their business as it is. So can we pursue business funding? Absolutely. But it's going to be based upon their business as it is. Well, what happens if the business is lacking credibility? In other words, it doesn't have the 3 C's on the business side. Well, that's where we help over on this category. So I see Trevor's question. It's my fault for confusing it. So yes, people that are enrolled just in credit and funding, yes, we can help them get business funding. Yes, that's fine. No, they don't have to enroll into the business startup program. But if their business that they do own and have is not credible, then we're going to run into some problems, right? And that's where we often can resolve those problems with this, but it's optional. Thank you, Trevor, for asking that. So again, for any of you that would like a copy of this, an editable copy, just email us, support@guaranteedfunding.org. As long as you're in good standing, we're happy to provide that to you and support you and assist you and your clients. If you're not remaining in good standing, we probably need to visit and resolve that, because if you're not doing what you promised to do, then you probably wouldn't be expecting us to continue to train and support and provide materials and assist you with the programming. So just keep in mind, it's a two-way street. We want to do everything we promised you to do. We want every one of you that are branch owners to generate at least $100,000 a month, minimally. That's our clear goal for each branch. But there's promises that you made that we would ask you to do as well. Any other questions, comments, concerns on the funding program resource comparison sheet? All right, Trevor says he's got a few clients to enter today. Yeah, so we've had a really good start to the month of September, and many of you are active in enrolling clients. Thank you for doing that. I guess it'd probably be, I think it would be Miss Dash so far. She's right about 100 clients signed up and paid for the month of September so far. I think she's in the lead. Not that this is a competition. We all want to help as many clients as we can. But some of you, the goal is to work with each of you to help at least one client a day. That's what we would really like. But certainly some of you are much beyond that. Like Miss Dash, and then some of you are kind of laggards. And if you're a laggard, we need to figure out why, because we definitely want to assist you in being successful and helping small businesses and hitting that 6-figure a month goal. So that's where you probably want to reach out to us one-on-one. But with that being said, I appreciate your time. Have a great day, and we'll see you back tomorrow morning. Bye-bye.